Anyway, hello everyone. I am Whitney Petrilli, and I am the co-chair of the Fauquier County Democratic Committee. Thank you. Okay, and Larry Jackson, who is back there somewhere. There's Larry. Okay, he is my co-chair. Could not do this without him. Okay, I'd also like to welcome everybody here to Fauquier County's Democratic Campaign Kickoff event. We are so pleased and fortunate to be supporting such an incredible array of candidates for office this year. We look forward to hearing from each of them, and they'll all be speaking shortly. But first, there's a special person who I wanted to thank for helping us pull this event together. Kim Gibson, where are you, darling? Okay. All right. Kim, there you are. Okay, Kim has been working tirelessly to coordinate all the many details that go into making an event like this a success. So thank you, Kim. And thank you also to everyone who was on the committee that helped put this together. Y'all know who you are. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay. And we could not do this without our amazing partners and co-hosts at Fauquier Indivisible, led by our election, yay, woohoo! Okay, led by our elections committee chair, Donna Sawinski. So come on up, Donna.
Welcome, everybody. I'm with Fauquier Indivisible, and I too want to thank all of the speakers and the candidates for coming to our campaign kickoff. You know, Fauquier is changing. In the 2017 election for the House of Delegates, of all the majority red counties, Fauquier County is the only one where Republican participation declined. And just last week, the Virginia Public Access Project reported that there was an 8% decline in the number of votes that Corey Stewart received in the Senate primary from what he had received in the Republican primary in Fauquier County. And that made us the county in Northern Virginia where Republican support declined the most. So I think we can all say that we will no longer cede Fauquier County to the Republicans. Today, Fauquier Indivisible has more than 650 members, and we work closely with the Fauquier County Democratic Committee. And we are poised to elect 2 progressive women to Congress from Fauquier County. And we're going to hear from both of them today. And we are also poised to re-elect Tim Kaine to the United States Senate. But first, it is my honor to introduce our delegate to the Virginia House of Delegates for District 31. In 2017, we helped to elect the first Latina to the Virginia General Assembly. And during this past year, she's been a strong voice for progressive policies in Virginia and a critical supporter in passing Medicaid expansion, proving once again that when we vote, we win. Please welcome the Honorable Elizabeth Guzman.
Let me take this off. Okay, now it's better. Good afternoon, Fauquier Democrats! Well, you know my name, Delegate Elizabeth Guzman. I represent the 31st District of the House, which includes parts of Prince William and Fauquier County. And it was mentioned before, I was recently elected as the first Latina immigrant to the Virginia Assembly. I am also the only Democrat at the state legislature to represent Fauquier County, but it will not be for so long, and you're going to help us to change that. It's just, we completed our first legislative year, and we had an amazing year. You know, great things happen when you elect Democrats, and you help us to do that. Yes, that's right. So you know, in a snapshot of everything that we have done the last year, I would like to start by saying that we increased the felony larceny threshold from $200 to $500. It's still one of the lowest in the nation, but we believe that it was a great compromise. We also believe that with that, we're going to decrease the amount of children of color trapped in the school-to-prison pipeline. Because we don't want any teenagers to go to jail just because they stole a cell phone or because they couldn't afford makeup and they had to go to jail for doing that. We have also, you know, you probably heard in 2013, the Virginia Assembly decided to allocate money from the gasoline fuel tax to public transportation. Unfortunately, back in 2013, we didn't put a floor on that gasoline sales tax. So this year, I was able to sponsor legislation to put a floor on the gasoline sales tax, and we are going to allocate $7 million to VRE and PRTC because we know, yeah, that's excellent. Because we understand that 70% of the population in Fauquier and Prince William County use this system to find high-paying jobs close to Washington, D.C. Finally, I think we had the honor, with the help of our amazing Lieutenant Governor and the State Senate, we were able to approve a budget that included Medicaid expansion, that provided health insurance to 400,000 hard-working Virginians living under poverty, from which 1,300 live in the 31st District. But this is an amazing deal, not only because it's the right thing to do, because as Democrats, we believe that health care is a human right and it's not a privilege. But also because we're going to bring our federal tax dollars that is stayed for so long in Washington, D.C., and we're going to bring it back here to Virginia to increase teacher salaries. We're going to increase also the salary of state employees. We're going to finally have one full-time principal at every elementary school in Virginia. We're going to have more beds or mental health facilities that were overcrowded. And we're going to use this money to fight the opioid crisis that is killing one Virginia every day. There is so many more things to do, but we're going to need your help to get them done, and we're already working for next year's legislation. As Democrats, we believe in common sense gun regulation because we know that prayers and thoughts are not enough. And we're coming back next year to hold Republicans accountable, and we're going to put them on record that they are against Virginians' will. Finally, we're also going to work on climate change policy, because climate change is real and we need to act today to protect our environment. Why? Because we want our children to enjoy the same environment that we are enjoying today. Because 20 years from now, I don't want my children or your children to tell us that we had the means to do something and we didn't do anything, and we will fight to improve policy that will protect our environment and green areas here in Virginia. As Democrats, we believe in public education because we know that each child in Virginia should have the opportunity to succeed by having access to quality public education. And we're going to do that by starting to send more money to public education so we could have more counselors, social workers, psychologists in public schools so they could help diagnose children who are facing mental health challenges right now while they are in school. And why is that so important? That's a perfect opportunity for us to diagnose because children need help. And as a social worker, I can tell you that once we have the right support systems in place, these children with mental health challenges could succeed. But we need these counselors and social workers to help parents as well, so they could learn to become a support system for their children, so they can be ready to face a new life and they can succeed and help drive the economy of this Commonwealth of Virginia. I want to remind you that it's going to be an election in 2019, and that election is going to be so important because with your help, we're going to take over the House of Delegates. But not only the House of Delegates, we're going to also take over the State Senate. And you're going to help us to do that. But first things first, 2018 is around the corner. And we need your help to re-elect my favorite senator, Tim Kaine. Who is running against a person who's my constituent. What a terrible punishment for Corey Stewart to have somebody looking like me to represent him in Richmond. Someone who has been ripping families apart since 2003. Someone who labeled people who look like me as criminals and rapists. Someone who do not want to help dreamers because dreamers are Americans and they make America great. So with your help, we're going to retire Corey Stewart this year, and next year we're going to retire him, just close this chapter by unseating him in the County Board of Supervisors in Prince William County because he's losing in November. And I'm declaring that today. Then we also need to take over the House of Representatives and 2 seats that are flippable, that we have 2 nasty women running for office right here, right now. Because we're living in a country that even though we have approved the Equal Pay Act since 1967, we still have women making 75 cents compared to $1 that a man makes, and that's not right. And we're going to talk about women of color. We're talking about an African-American woman making 75 cents, while 65 cents. And when we talk about Latinas, we're making 65 cents compared to $1, and that needs to change, and we need them to go to Congress. Today, we have the privilege to have among us our amazing Lieutenant Governor, Justin Fairfax. Welcome to Fauquier County.
You're so great. Thank you so much.
So let me tell you a little bit about Justin. You know, Justin is... I never had this honor to introduce you, and there's so many things that I want to say about Justin, a friend of mine that I look up as a leader. But this is how he set the tone in the Virginia Assembly when he was leading the state Senate. You know, he will refuse to accept any time of racism or discrimination comments on the floor. And this man who leave the floor and make Republicans know that racism is not xenophobia, it's not around, it is not acceptable in this Commonwealth. And he also fight so everyone in Virginia is treated with respect, dignity and respect, regardless of their gender, of their race, their cultural background, their sexual orientation, or gender identity. Many people don't know this, but Justin actually was my mentor. Justin came to when I decided to run for office, Justin actually came to my house and we sat down and we had a meeting and we discussed what it's gonna take to flip the 31st. And he was and I wanna thank you publicly for doing that, for taking time from your busy schedule to do that and spend time with me. So Justin is already working for next year legislation. He's been traveling the state trying to find the root causes for eviction rates and how can we change that. And we're gonna be here from Fauquier County ready to help you in anything that your next career would lead you to. We're gonna help you all. We're gonna be here to support you here from Fauquier County. So it is my honor and privilege to introduce our 41st Lieutenant Governor, Justin Fairfax.
Thank you so much. Thank you all so much. Good afternoon, Fauquier County Democrats. Good afternoon, Fauquier Indivisible. Good afternoon, Rappahannock Democrats. I saw you here as well. Thank you all so much for having me here today. You have an incredible delegate. Isn't she amazing, Delegate Elizabeth Guzman? We love her. Thank you so much for your service and your leadership. She is a dear friend, and I will definitely take credit for being your mentor, all right? So you turned out great, and thank you for your courage and everything that you're doing. And also, I want to thank all of our friends here for your leadership, for what you have done, for entrusting me to serve as your Lieutenant Governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia. It's really been the honor of a lifetime. And I am proud of the work that we have done together. In the General Assembly, you heard from Elizabeth some of those things. And we accomplished more in this session than some people have done in decades. We together, with your help, because you fought with us, because you voted in record numbers, were able to expand Medicaid for 400,000 more Virginians. So to get to see a doctor and have their health concerns taken care of, and that's what you all did. You did that because you believe, and you worked your hearts out in 2017. And I know we're here at Lord Fairfax Community College, and I actually have a story that I want to share about that in a moment. But we're also, I believe, in the Senate district of the person who was my opponent in the general election. And a lot of people said in that campaign that there was no way we would win, that they had too much money. She had served for 10 years in the Senate. The people were going to come behind. It would be nasty. They would tear you down. But we proved them wrong. And we got the most votes in the history of the Commonwealth of Virginia, 1.36 million votes because of what you all did. And as you all know, my opponent in that race, her father gave her $1.5 million in that election. I called my dad for that money. He hung up the phone on me. And, and we're talking now. We're on good terms again. But that was a hard ask to make. But it just goes to show you that you all are the change. It doesn't matter how much money they throw at these elections. It doesn't matter how nasty and how low they go. You all can change the course of history in Virginia and in this country by showing up in the ways that you have shown up. And so I know you're going to do that in just a few short months here. And we are going to, mark my words, send Tim Kaine back to the United States Senate to represent us for another 6 years. He is an incredible leader and a dear friend, and we're so proud of Tim, and we know what Tim is made of. He is a person with integrity. He cares deeply about this country and about people, and there's never been in my lifetime a more important time than to have people with those characteristics and those qualities helping to lead our nation into a different direction than what we have seen. This White House reminds us every single day, and in some cases, if you check Twitter, every single minute, as to how important these elections are. And I think about what we're going through as a nation. It really goes to the core and the foundation of who we are, of what our values are, of who we are as a nation, how we treat each other, how we treat people trying to come to this country in search of a better life, and also just plain integrity. We see lie after lie after lie out of this White House every day. It gets to be seemingly overwhelming, but I am proud of the way that you all have responded, because there are so many different ways that you can deal with a situation like this. Some people want to run and hide. Some people want to act like it doesn't happen, or that, you know, it'll soon pass if we do nothing. Well, the truth is, the only way we're going to make it change is by standing up together and fighting. And this room shows me that you are ready to fight. You're ready to fight, and you're ready to win. And we're going to have to send, in addition to Tim Kaine, and trying to retake the United States Senate, it is a critical time in this nation for us to retake the House of Representatives. That is the body that is supposed to have oversight, that is supposed to hold this executive in check, and yet they have done nothing. They have turned a blind eye as these people have torn our country apart, have undermined our law enforcement agencies, have done everything to give comfort and aid to Vladimir Putin and the Russians, and yet have not put Americans first. And so we need leaders to go to the House of Representatives, to do the work of holding this administration accountable and taking us on a different course. And I think we have two extraordinary women who are going to join us in the House of Representatives. And I want to recognize Vangie Williams and Leslie Cockburn. Thank you all so much for what you're doing for them. Let's get out there. Let's fight for them. Let's write checks, knock doors, make phone calls, make sure that we support them. They are stepping up at a time in our nation's history when it seems pretty dark. What I'd like to say, out of this White House, it's really moral midnight in so many ways. And when there's moral midnight, what we need are rays of light. What we need is hope. What we need are communities like Fauquier County who are going to show to the nation that we are not taking this lying down. That we will not see our protections of our Constitution ripped apart, the fabric of our nation undermined. And so I'm proud of what you all are doing to really remake this nation in an image of truth and justice and equality and opportunity for all. And I want to share with you two very quick stories that I think really go to the heart of who we are when we're at our best. As many of you know and have heard, I was actually born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, but I was raised in Washington, D.C. And we came to D.C. when I was about 5 or 6 years old. My parents, both of whom I love dearly. Again, my dad is talking to me after that $1.5 million I asked him for. We're still friends, but my parents got divorced because life happens. And what that meant was that my mom, who had 4 children, had to find a place to start over. And I was the youngest of those 4. Fortunately for us, that place was with my late maternal grandparents, 2 of the best people I've ever known. My grandfather was a Howard University graduate. He was a World War II veteran, fought in the European theater, and when he came back from the war, he worked at the United States Postal Service for over 45 years and walked to work every single day. My grandmother, also a Howard graduate, she was a nurse at Freedman's Hospital and worked there for over 40 years. And so when their oldest child, who's my mom, came knocking at their door saying that she needed a place to start over, they did something really incredible, and they took all 5 of us into their home. It was a tiny row home in Northeast DC. They didn't have a lot of space, didn't have a lot of money, but they had a lot of love. And that single act of love and generosity and courage changed the entire course and trajectory of our lives. My mom was able to save up enough money working as a pharmacist. Do you all remember People's Drug? Yeah. Okay, the college kids have no idea what I'm talking about. So CVS Pharmacy, and worked there for nearly 30 years. I was able to buy the house right across the street from my grandparents, where she raised us. And just as improbably, with the help of so many people, she was able to send all 4 of her children to college and 2 of us to law school. God is good, and that's who we are when we're at our best, when we give people opportunity, when we allow them to rise, no matter where they start. And that's this nation's story. When we give people opportunity, when we give them hope, when we give them a high-quality education, when they hit a bump in the road in life, we don't discard them. We give them another opportunity and a fighting chance. And that's what this nation is at its heart, and that's what we're remaking it to be. And the other story I want to share with you actually relates in so many ways to where we are today and what we all accomplished last year and going forward. As many of you know, we were elected in November of last year, and in January of this year, we had our inauguration in Richmond at the Capitol. And on that day, it was a very cold day, as you'll recall, we were all gathered together, thousands of people, and it was discovered that week, the deed of manumission for my great-great-great-grandfather. His name was Simon Fairfax. And they discovered in the Fairfax County Courthouse the document that freed him from slavery in Fairfax County, Virginia on June the 5th, 1798. The same year that Fauquier County was established, 1798. And so they found that document. My family didn't even know it existed. And so my father got a copy of it 2 days before the inauguration on June the 13th. He then, on the day of, 20 minutes before, I walked out the steps of the Capitol to take the oath of office as the Lieutenant Governor of Virginia, handed me a copy of that document. And so when I raised my right hand and took that oath, I had in my breast pocket the document that had freed my great-great-great-grandfather 220 years before. And so, thank you. And he was freed, as I mentioned, in the same year that Fauquier County was established, 1798. And he was freed by Thomas Fairfax, who was the 9th Lord Fairfax, which is how I got my last name. And I share that story because that really is not just my family story. It's not even just a Virginia story. That is an American story. That's all of our story. It's who we are when we rise to the better angels of our nature. When we are ahead of our time in fighting for progress for people, giving them opportunity, education, hope. And that's really where we are in this country again. We are at a moment that history is going to judge what we did. And it's going to judge us very well because you all did not run and hide. You did not get disappointed by what we have seen time and time again out of the White House and out of this Congress. You stepped up and you started it last year. You believed right after one of the toughest elections we have ever had in the history of this nation, and you came out in record numbers. And look at the change we are beginning to create. As I said last year, Virginia would be the match that sparks the wildfire of progressive change all across this country, and that's exactly what we are seeing. I have traveled to Georgia, to North Carolina. We're going down to Florida. We saw what happened in Wisconsin and in Alabama and now in Texas. They are understanding that what we did in Virginia can be done around the country. You gave people hope. And that's an incredible gift to give to a nation at a time of moral midnight. So I am so grateful to you all for being rays of light in this dark political time. We are going to turn this entire nation around because of what you're doing. So do not lose heart. Keep the faith. Have hope. As Dr. King said, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it ultimately bends toward justice. But what it takes is people to bend it. And that's what each one of you is doing, bending that arc toward justice. So thank you all so much. There is more to come, and we are going to change this country together. God bless you all. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you all. Thank you so much. You're awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you all. Rebecca, great job. Thank you so much.
Isn't he amazing? So let's give him one more round of applause to our 41st Lieutenant Governor.
You're so good. Thank you so much.
Justin Fairfax. So now we're going to get into the program part where you guys came for. So I would like to introduce first a lady who's running such an amazing campaign on the 5th Congressional District, but running is scared already Tom Garrett. He was so scared to lose that he already retired before he even was on the ballot. She was able to collect the amount of delegates necessary before even the convention was set. She came victorious out of a 5-way, it was 6 and then 5-way primary convention that she knocked it out of the park and did an amazing job. She is bringing her experience as a journalist to Capitol Hill that she has covered for so many years, working in Washington, D.C., and Capitol Hill as well. So it is my distinct honor to introduce the 2-time Emmy Award winner, Leslie Cockburn.
Good afternoon. Since we are in Fauquier County, I have to recognize two men who are here. Dee Penley, standing just at the back there, and Ross O'Donoghue from Rappahannock. Ross, can you stand up, please? It's thanks to these two men over a year ago that I pursued this crazy path to become the Democratic nominee for the 5th District of Virginia. Thank you, gentlemen. We do indeed have an amazing campaign. Because we believed, people talk a lot about grassroots. They talk a lot about field, but they don't often do it. And we really believe in it. So we now have in every single county, and that's 21 rural counties, plus Danville, plus Charlottesville, we have organizations that are powerful and strong. They are so good that even if our amazing staff of this campaign disappeared tomorrow, they would still pull it off, because local leadership is everything. And I see it here in Fauquier, I see it all over this district. This is a very, very exciting year because of that, and it will make it possible to win the 5th. Flip it. Flip the 5th. Early on, people said it was impossible to flip the 5th, and it was impossible for a woman to flip the 5th. I never believed that to be the case, and now we are in a position, we are a competitive race. That's very exciting. And also, I'll just tell you, in the last week, we've been endorsed by Planned Parenthood, Sierra Club, J Street, the Pro-Israel PAC. We have a lot of friends. And we have endorsements from everyone from Elizabeth Warren to Mark Warner. In order to win the 5th, the tent has to be a big tent. And we have a huge tent, which includes indivisibles up and down this district. And on the other side, we have Republican support here in Fauquier and everywhere. Last night in Nelson County at the Democratic Crab Fest, 2 men came up to me and said, "We are lifelong Republicans and we're voting for you." So. And we even have a wonderful Republican woman who's was a real pioneer, a real feminist pioneer, who's in Rappahannock. And she's very Republican, but she said, "I'm totally supporting you." And she's actually done an ad for us. So encouraging other Republican women to vote. We need all of this. In order to win, we need everything from all those indivisibles, every young person in the district who's going to vote. We need the entire African-American population to come out. We need every woman in this district to come out. And I think that given the enormity of what the Trump administration is giving us every single day is so mind-boggling. I'm sure you experienced this too. I have to wake up very early on the campaign trail, and I look at what it is today. And my favorite one was that the Trump administration has decided that we don't need a safety net because poverty no longer exists. So forget about the 41 million people in this country as of 2016 who are impoverished and in desperate need of help. They don't exist. Well, let's go down to Campbell County, where I was last week, with an amazing family who've supported us for a year. These are dairy farmers. It's a 4-generation dairy farm. And talking to them, there are 3 important things happening on that farm. 1, they are getting killed by tariffs, like everybody else in this district. 2, who's milking those cows 3 times a day? It is immigrants. And three, who is it that gives us the wisdom that we need? One of the farmers, he's 74 years old. This should be a pretty conservative guy. And he said that he was so upset that the Trump administration is trying to really destroy the SNAP program. He said, you have to understand, we provide milk for schools. He said in Campbell County, over 50% of the students do not get enough to eat at home. They must have that school lunch. They must have that SNAP help. They cannot survive. And this is a good old boy, and he said, let me tell you, in Campbell County, if you cannot eat enough, you cannot learn. If you cannot learn, you cannot be part of the American dream. You cannot, there is nothing for you here. So out of the mouth of a good old boy farmer is the wisdom for all of us, which is we have to take care. We have to take care of our neighbors. We have to take care of our farmers. We have to take care of our immigrants, who are the engine of the agricultural economy of the 5th District. Another recent decision by the Trump administration was that the Justice Department should declare as unconstitutional the right for people with pre-existing conditions to be guaranteed health care. They want it to be unconstitutional. Well, we are not only going to make sure that it remains constitutional, but we are going to make sure that the Affordable Care Act is restored, that every single pillar that they've knocked out from under it is put back in place. I am so lucky to be part of the coordinated campaign with Tim Kaine. Tim Kaine is whip smart, and he is generous. And he's married to one of the most wonderful women in the state of Virginia. So it's glorious because he lifts up our campaign and supports us. And I think about when he talks about healthcare, he supports the idea of taking Medicare and putting it on the exchange and make it available to people right away, which will draw everyone because it is so much less expensive than the other plans. And I would like to second that, and I would like to also fight very, very hard for Medicare for all. You know, my background is as a journalist, and for a number of years I was a producer at 60 Minutes. So when I look at a problem like, how do you pay for Medicare? I say, well, actually, we're already paying $3.3 trillion in this country for medical costs. Plus, look at the couple in Charlottesville. Their story is so appalling, we made an ad with it, which is that a family of 4 in Charlottesville, now that there's one monopoly insurance company, Optima, if you're on the individual exchange, you can be charged like them for a regular program, $36,000 a year, $12,000 deductible. The cost is 23% higher than anywhere else in the nation, including the Aleutian Islands. And in the Aleutian Islands, you have to be airlifted out for your health care. That is Charlottesville. This is wrong. This is gouging. This is all brought on by the Trump administration, destroying the relationship between the Affordable Care Act and the insurance companies. So we're going to change that. That's one of the first priorities. And I will also say that the glorious thing about going around this district as a former journalist is people always surprise you. So when you say, what is it that is your top priority? If you go to Cumberland County, the answer is a grocery store. When you, yesterday I was going door to door in Charlottesville and asking people, what's your top priority? 2 people said healthcare. 1 said immigration, going along these lines. 1 said affordable housing in Charlottesville, which is a crisis. And 1 said to me, I have a lot of guns, but I would give up every one if we had universal health care. So I will just say, in closing, that, that we have a tremendous engine right now. We have momentum, we have support, we have good financial assistance with taking no money from corporate PACs. And that for me is important because I am one of those people who really wants to hold hearings up on Capitol Hill. And Jerry Connolly is very excited about this. He wants to do it too. So when it comes to doing things like holding Big Pharma's feet to the fire, insisting that we start negotiating drug prices, I will be right in there because I'm not taking $1 from Big Pharma. It's really critical. So my message to all of you is this. If you look at all the data from elections, the most important things you can do are knock on doors and have a conversation. Have a conversation on a doorstep. Write a postcard to someone, a handwritten postcard. Have a texting party. Get involved with our campaign. If you get involved, remember, we can win this by 1 vote. We know what happened last year. And it's getting involved. Yesterday morning, I was with a whole group of kids. They're teenagers who have been led by Jamie Raskin, who's a wonderful congressman. In Charlottesville, this whole group of Democracy Summer kids are working with our campaign. So from all over, we have supporters coming in to help us. Every single one of those people is vital to us winning this race. And believe me, the good people on Capitol Hill so desperately need more of us up there so that we not only can set things right in the 5th District, have an office where we're going to take the door off the hinges. We're going to be so available to people. But we need to flip the House of Representatives. And the hands are outstretched from the people on the Hill to us to come up and really help turn things around in this country. So help us.
Thank you, Leslie. I will be remiss today if I don't recognize my Medicaid warriors that are here today. Could they please stand up? Everybody who came to Richmond and advocate for Medicaid, please stand up. Thank you. Thank you. You help us make history, and also here in Fauquier County, many Fauquier Democrats got involved in making phone calls and knocking on doors to convince and flip Jill so she could support Medicaid as well. So thank you for everyone who supported that campaign as well. I would like also to recognize today, talking about Jill Bogle, and we are on the subject, we already have a Democrat running against Jill Bogle in 2019 here with us. So Ronnie Ross is already working really hard, knocking on doors for Leslie and Vangie to help us flip Congress, and he's already introducing himself to voters so he can flip that district next year. Thank you, Ronnie, for running for office. We have former candidates that I introduced before. We had Tristan Shields, who ran against Weaver last year. We have Rebecca Colaw over here, who she was running as well. We have 2 more candidates. Right? Yes, she ran last year also for the House of Delegates. So thank you for running. You know, it's not easy to run for office. Thank you for putting yourself out there, and we are just gonna get it done next year, and thank you. Thank you for running for office. So our next speaker, she ran against males. She was the only female on her race on the 1st Congressional District, and she got 40% of the vote out of a 3-way primary. And she did it by knocking on doors and having the support of people like you. She has 30 years of experience working in the federal government. She's currently working full-time and going to school while she's running for office. So more kudos for you, Vangie. She has been working in the federal government for 30 years, and she's working right now for a federal contractor. And she is ready to go to Washington, D.C. and pull up her sleeves and get to work, because she already knows how things get done over there. She's running to become the first female African American to represent Virginia in the U.S. House. So it is my distinct honor to introduce our first Democratic nominee to the 1st Congressional District, Vangie Williams.
Well, good evening. Okay. Good evening. All right. Well, my name is Vangie Williams, as you know, and I'm running for Congress for us, each and every one of us. And why am I walking out here? Because I'm one of you. Each one of you represents a cell in my body. Each person in this district, each person in the 11th, the 5th, let's say Virginia. They say when we vote, we win. Well, guess what? I'm running for Congress, but I'm running for Virginia, and I'm running for we the people. 107 days. Think about that. It's only 107 days. And this is not an easy race. No. I'm a woman of color running in a conservative district, and we're making change 1 person at a time. Now notice, I said 1 person at a time. Not 1 corporation at a time. See, like Leslie, we agree on really a lot of things. As progressive, by democratic nature, I'm a progressive person. Because let me tell you this, taking $1 from a corporate entity right now would mean that we are selling our souls before we even get to Capitol Hill. It is time that people on Capitol Hill realize that when you run for Congress, you are running for we the people, not we the corporation. You're running for the future of our generations. You're running for every man, woman, child that steps land on this nation. And notice I did say steps foot into this nation, because I know there are so many great people who came here from other lands who have made this nation great as it is, even better. Elizabeth, amen. Stepping into this role means more than just stepping into a race. It means stepping into the light so that we can see the darkness fade. It's like when dawn comes in and you notice that color of rainbow and you say to yourself, that's beautiful. That's what we want to see on Capitol Hill come November 6th. Now, I didn't get into this race because of who won the presidency. I got into this race because of who was sitting in the seat that I am going after now. Failure to do your job means that it's time for you to either get fired or retire. And we're going to retire him by firing him on November 6th. So this is what I need everyone to do. I got a question. How many people know 20 people? Okay. So we know that Leslie and I are not taking corporate dollars. But do you know how we can match that? Come on, somebody tell me how. Okay, donations, but we're going to go one step further. Somebody that you know, at least 20 people, can donate $500 by themselves to Leslie and I, or I, depending on how they feel about donating to the candidates. I would like to, candidates. I would like that, right? But you know at least 20 people who can donate to these campaigns and get us over the threshold that corporate dollars are buying others for. See, running for office isn't cheap. My campaign, we need $1.4 million. Why? I live in 3 media markets. DC, Richmond, and Hanover. I'm sorry, Hampton. 3 media markets. That's expensive. But this is how we're going to use this. We're going to use this money to put field people in every county so that we have field organizers out there with boots on the ground. Because you know what? Not everybody watches TV. We're going to make sure that money goes to streamlined campaigning. We ran a campaign for the primary on $60,000. $60,000. That's incredible. It's a congressional campaign. We did not focus our attention on social media, or as I call it, the echo chamber. We got out and we spoke to people face to face. Just in the last 3 days, I've seen Fauquier Democrats down in Hanover, because down in Hanover, we aren't afraid to show how we are going to win this. My campaign manager, Joel, my team, I have a lot of team here today. I'm going to tell you, our strategy is clean. We ran a clean primary. We're running a clean general election. You know why? Because I'm not running to sling dirt. I'm running to win votes. And I'm winning votes by being honest with people and showing people who I truly am. It's time we stand up. Now, this is why I'm running. I'm running because we need an economy that works for everyone. Everyone deserves housing, health care, education, child care, innovation, transportation, and yes, retirement. There is no reason for you to retire and have to go work at a McDonald's because you still can't make ends meet. I've met so many people at the, primary, like the 9th, June 9th, we were knocking on doors. And a woman who was Republican walked up to me and asked me, who was I and which party? And I said, I'm Vangie Williams. I'm an American. First. Now, what can I do for you, ma'am? She said, well, I get my check. My husband gets his check. And today, I have $116 to last me till the end of the month. Can you survive on $116 between the 10th and the 30th of the month? I don't know one person who can, even if they live by themselves. I have met people who walk 7 miles to a job that pays minimum wage. And those people want jobs. They want a hand up. I've met military men and women at Quantico who are on the SNAP program, so how dare anyone cut a program that helps our soldiers? Oh, wait, why do our soldiers need help? Yeah. We must ask that question. I got into this race because I was tired of struggle, and I have lived through struggle. I have been homeless. I have faced the loss of a home. I have shown that I can be resilient because I fought back. And I did all this with 6 children. And understand, having 6 children is never cheap. And I have daughters. Trust me, it is not cheap. I can tell you, that there are people in this district who don't want a handout. They want a handout. They want someone to fight for them on Capitol Hill. We have them fighting down in the House in Virginia, and I'm going to tell you right now, we are going up there to make a change because our government is for we the people, because I love that shirt, and it's because we deserve better. My second thing, Medicare for all, period. Medicare for all with dental and vision included. Having dental included in Medicare for all is very important because when your dental health goes down, your medical health goes down, and it is not a graceful death. I don't want to see anybody, especially a child, when you hear that a child died from something as simple as a gum infection, or a senior who can't afford to go to the dentist because dental care is $3,000 to take care of an abscess. You shouldn't have to face losing your home rather than getting your dental work done or going to the doctor for a simple procedure. And yes, veterans, I have not forgotten about you. I never will, because I would love VA care and Medicare to merge together so that for VA care, you can go to the VA for your specialized care, but when you need to see a doctor today, you can go anywhere because every American deserves that. And lastly, not lastly, because I have a lot of things I want to fix, but investing in our communities and our hometown heroes, our educators, our first responders, our veterans, our retired military, and our enlisted military. The INVEST initiative is on my website. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about it, but we need to invest back into these communities of people. These are the people who run into fires when we run away. They run into danger when we run away. They go across seas when none of us want to go across seas and fight for our freedom. And they educate our children. We need to make sure that they earn a fair wage, they can take care of their families, and they don't have to work 2, 3, and 4 jobs just to make a living and doing something they love, protecting our freedom and protecting us. Now, I'm not ashamed to ask for money today because I'm trying to win a congressional race so that we can go up to Capitol Hill and do the job that you need someone to do, because apparently Rob Whitman doesn't think that coming out and speaking to you is worthy of our time. I'm going to tell you, you are worthy of my time. And people have seen me. I've been everywhere in the last couple of days. I've had people say, didn't I see you yesterday? But we need help. Leslie can tell you this campaign is not cheap. Please visit our tables, grab envelopes, go to our websites, donate. Ask your friends to donate. In fact, go 5 friends to your, no, I'm going to challenge that. Go 20 neighbors to your left, 20 neighbors to your right, 40 neighbors across the street, and tell them about your candidate and who you love, even if they're Republican, because Republicans are voting for Leslie and Vangie. Okay? People don't want politicians. They want people to go to Capitol Hill. And right now, even Republicans who are conservative in nature are going for people like us, Democrats. So, help us. I challenge you all. If you want us to match those corporate dollars, donate, donate, donate. Second, Tim Kaine and I are also doing a coordinated campaign. I can tell you what we do need on all the coordinated campaigns: door knockers, volunteers to hand out materials at functions like this. We need people to do phone banking. We need people to just man our offices. We need help, and we need the help of red-blooded human beings, not technology-based all the time. There's easy things like postcard writing. But I'm going to tell you, we need you, and we applaud all the hard work that you're doing now for us, and we will never forget this, ever. I'm Vangie Williams. I'm running for Congress because we the people need someone on Capitol Hill to represent we the people, because we're tired of hidden figures. Thank you. Have a great day. God bless.
Hey, let's give him one. Why don't you guys stand up and let's give him just one more round of applause. Stand up so we can just, want to stand up? Yep. is our winning team for Fauquier County in these upcoming elections.
Vangie's going to be my congresswoman. Our last speaker is Rebecca Colaw. She is an Air Force veteran, an attorney in Suffolk County, Virginia, and she ran for the House of Delegates in District 64, where Trump won by over 20 points in 2016. Rebecca didn't win, but she learned a few things about running for office in rural and conservative areas, and about how important it is for progressives in red districts to show up. At the Women's Summit, where I heard her speak, she called it planting seeds. It is my pleasure to introduce Rebecca Colaw.
So you're all wondering who the redneck is here in her blue jeans and her bad hair and her poochy belly. And I've got on my We the People shirt because I'm a big believer in We the People. I'm a retired military officer, a Persian Gulf War veteran. I'm a walking pre-existing condition. I'm 90% disabled. And so I have a lot to say about that stuff, but I'm not today because we've got people up here who mean something today. And I'm here to talk to you about how to think differently in your actions. I'm going to sound like a military person for a minute. I started telling this a little bit at the Women's Summit. So if you were there, I'm sorry you heard some of this, but I'm going to go out of it. How many people in here are military? Got some folks here? Anybody from the 101st Airborne? The 101st Airborne, it's an interesting story. During World War II, the 101st Airborne were surrounded by Germans in Bastogne. They were surrounded. They had no food. They had no water. They had no clothes. It was the middle of December. They were surrounded by Panzer tanks. They were surrounded by special forces of the German army. So the Germans thought, well, this is a no-brainer. They sent in a message and said, it's time for you to surrender. The German commander, interesting enough, was named McCullough. And he sent back a one-word reply, nuts, which today would be the equivalent of F you. And so, there he sits in the middle of the German army in the middle of December in Bastogne. Now, that's how I think the Democratic Party has looked at red districts. And this shirt is red for a reason, because I want you to think red and get angry, and I want you to think red and think we have to attack on all the levels. Because if you look at VPAP, you all know what VPAP is? If you look at that, most of the state of Virginia is red. And only thanks be to God to the great big areas of the metropolitan areas are blue. But if we ignore the red areas, we are going to lose over and over and over again. And that is what the Democratic Party has done. And that is why Indivisible is so cool, because we don't give a We want to win, and we want to give the people that are running for office the tools that they need to win. So who knows who saved General McCullough in Bastogne? Anybody? Patton. Do you know how far Patton was away from Bastogne? He was engaged in another battle with other troops, 161 miles away. Do you know how far it is if you're in Richmond to any part of Virginia? It's less than that. He disengaged, moved his entire force 161 miles, and liberated McCullough and the 101st Airborne. If he hadn't done that, there would be no Fort Campbell, Kentucky with the 101st Airborne, and we would not have won World War II because he crossed borders. The biggest thing I want to ask you guys about today is crossing borders. You know, we were so isolated. I ran in a ruby red district that's racially gerrymandered. And I'm waiting to see what happens with the new court rulings. They'll probably stick me in Chris Jones's district. And if people give me money, I'll give that boy a run for his money because people don't like him. And as these candidates, I will, because somebody called me a socialist redneck earlier, and you know, I sort of like that. Does anybody know where redneck actually comes from? The term? Huh? No. Do you know where it really comes from? It's Scottish. Who's Scottish heritage in here? It comes from the people who supported King James when he tried to fight back England. They wore red scarves to identify themselves. And after they lost, they were booted to America. They ended up in Appalachia. They ended up in Tennessee, where I was born, and well, I wasn't quite born, 2 weeks, but sort of born and raised there. And so that's why we're called rednecks, because we're of Scottish descent. So it's a little different than farmers. But what it is people who are willing to stand up for what they believe in. And so what I want to ask all of you today is I want you to think about, and I never can say Fauquier County right. It's kind of like Norfolk. If you don't say it right, there's different words you shouldn't say in it. So I really don't want to get too screwed up on the name of the county. But I drove 4.5 hours to come talk to you today just to tell you to cross district lines. Okay? Because it does absolutely no good whatsoever if 3/4 of the state is red. And the thing that you have to do is this. You know, you can't leave candidates that run in red districts, and these ladies are trying to do it here today. You did it. You didn't leave her alone. You can't leave them alone. You have to engage. Now, protests are great. I got irritated at Trump. I went to the Women's March. Amazed me. Got me so mad my little redneck Scottish body got off the couch and went and ran for office, which I've never done before. I'm an introvert. I don't really like public events. I've learned to talk because I'm a lawyer. But my favorite thing to do is be alone and play with my horses. That's what I like to do. But we're in a time right now that you all need to understand. We're in a time where in a year and a half, 200 people or less have totally starting to destroy the very thing this nation was created to do hundreds of years ago. And the reason they're doing that, because they weren't asleep when elections were happening. They didn't have apathy when elections were happening. They weaponized. And so what I'd like to ask y'all to do, I'm writing postcards for you ladies, I already am. I've got about 10 people I'm writing, 200 postcards for each. And I want to also create people that cross lines. We need to develop some special forces, and my district needs Indivisible real bad, because I actually knocked on a man's door, lived in Isle of Wight, told me to get off his yard or he was going to shoot me. I got bit in the butt by a dog. I knocked over 4,000 doors myself because I didn't have any money. I had me. But what I understood, the guy that I knocked on in Isle of Wight, when he told me he was going to get off the yard or he was going to shoot me, I just said, well, all right, I'll leave. And I said, but I just want you to know you have a nice house. And I think it's pretty because I'm a history buff. I like old colonial houses. He looked at me and he said, we don't let those people live here. That's why we have nice houses. There are people out there that want to change the fabric of this country and go backwards. They want to go backwards. But if we don't get off the couch, if we don't cross county lines, if we don't cross district lines, if we don't cross congressional lines, if we don't support people, and you ladies said it, knocking doors and talking to people, phone lists are kind of with the cell phones now, but become an army. Become General Patton. Knock 500 doors for somebody that's not in your district. It takes 7 days. Is 7 days worth your democracy? I mean, is it? And what good is a House of Delegates that's got blue people in it if there aren't enough of them? What good is that? And what good is electing someone who's filthy rich to office if they can't find their way out of the bathroom? What good is that? The only reason Chris Jones voted for Medicaid is because he's a pharmacist and he'll make more money. It's the only reason he voted for it. And that man's got $500,000 in the bank, and he's probably the most powerful delegate in terms of the House of Delegates. But folks, we have to start fighting. We have to weaponize our bodies, weaponize our ability to support candidates. Bitching and moaning is just noise if you do not take that and turn it into action to support a candidate. So please, please cross lines. One thing I'd like to ask you that's really simple for the delegate House of Candidates or for the delegates for, I can't talk, see, for the House of Delegate candidates or for any candidate that lives in a red district, go find their Facebook page, go find their Twitter page, blow up their likes. If nothing else, let's blow shade on the Republicans so they don't know what we're doing. You know, because you never know. If you know, there's 200 people here. 200 people like those people's page, it's going to all of a sudden send a signal. Share some stuff. If you don't want to see stuff every day, you know, you can make it where you don't see it every day. But start using yourself as a weapon. Because if you do that, we will win. If you don't, we'll be having this conversation in 2 years, and Trump will have totally destroyed our country. And you can't let that happen. I started my military career when the Russians were the Russians, and they're still the Russians. And the thing that shook me to the core of my being this week, and I'm not afraid to use the word treason, but the thing that shook me to the core of my being this week was when he came out of Helsinki with Putin, and there's a freeze-frame snapshot of them. Putin is grinning like a son of a gun. And if you don't understand how he's jeopardizing our military, he's jeopardizing our intel people, he's jeopardizing everything that it is to be American because he has opened the doors on everything. You've got to understand that. You can't sit on the couch and complain every morning. You've got to use your feet, your hands, and your mouth to get out there and fight. That's all I ask, folks, and I appreciate the opportunity to come talk with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. Thank you to each of the candidates for their time today with us here today and all their efforts on our behalf. It's no easy task to run for office. They're dedicating their time, their blood, sweat, and tears, and everything else to do this. And so the least we can do is get out there and help support them. The future of our democracy is in our hands this November 6th. Those of us who are rightly appalled by this presidency must devote all our energy to giving Democrats control of at least one chamber of commerce. The Founding Fathers built in checks and balances between the various branches of government. But I don't think any of them could have conceived an entire party abdicating its role and checking the most egregious actions of the current administration. By electing Democrats to both houses of Congress, we will establish checks against the president's worst impulses and the harm he and his administration are doing to our country, humanity in general, and the reputation in the world and our democracy. We can't count on or assume someone else is going to save us. Now is not the time to sit on the sidelines. So I ask each of you, how do you plan to help in this effort? There are many efforts here locally that each of you can participate in. We are not helpless. There are many initiatives that you can participate in. You can start off, you can join us in postcard writing with our fellow citizens and encouraging them to vote for progressive candidates. We do this every other Wednesday. It's something everybody can do. We're always looking for canvassers. We have canvassing efforts out of our office on 35 Horner Street in Warrenton every week. You can come do that. Now, if you're not comfortable canvassing, that's okay. You can be a driver. There's all sorts of things people can do. You can volunteer by staffing our office. That same office on 35 Horner Street, we're looking for volunteers. You can help stuff envelopes. You can hand out yard signs. You can also join our efforts in reaching out to friends through a new initiative that we've got called Voter Circle. So if you want to find out about that, come talk to me. Or you can proudly display yard signs for your candidate of choice. All right, you can also reach out to your neighbors and friends and spread the word about our fabulous candidates. And lastly, donating your hard-earned money and dollars is always appreciated. Okay, so this election matters, and your participation has never been more important. Okay, our democracy needs you. So thank you for coming today, and we look forward to working with you to make this blue wave a tsunami this year. So, but we're going to need your help. So, all right. So thank you again for coming, and I hope this is not the last time I see you. And please stay, talk to the candidates. Back here we have a table with lots of ways to get involved. So please stop by and talk to the candidates, sign up for something. There's something for everybody. Oh, and I need some more food. All right, we're not taking this home, okay? So anyway, thank you so much for coming, and I look forward to working with you all, okay?
Great job. Well done. Well done. Great job. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for coming.
Oh, yeah.
Hello. I see you all the time on Facebook.
I'm in Indivisible Nova West.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm always posting and liking stuff, and I participate in Fauquier Indivisible a lot. And then, of course,